Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode 126 of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and would you guys kindly introduce yourselves?
More fun than a night with Sander Cohen, Michael K. Hughes.
And I'm Bill Tucker with a friendly message. Friends do not let friends become objectivists. All right? That's it. Just be careful about that. Don't do it.
It's an evening with Sander Cohen. I blew it.
Oh, no. Yeah, an evening with Sandra Cohen. That's pretty good.
That guy was a nut.
Awesome nut.
Well, everyone's a nut in this, and this is also the first episode of season 7.
Season 7. Good God. Wow. Congratulations.
Seasons only started meaning something since Mike joined, so in a tangible effort that wasn't inside baseball. So, and one thing I want to add in here before we go too far into this episode, we are doing our first poll on Patreon for our first pilot test episode. A pilot test where we're going to look at a pilot of a show and talk about it. We're going to let you choose what we first have to suffer through. So these are all 4 good choices. So I don't know if suffer's the right word.
Suffer's not the right word.
You will see a link in the show notes of the Patreon. So definitely go there. Just for as little as $1, we're going to have the whole poll open all of June for people to vote in. And Mike, what are the 4 options to choose from?
So our 4 options are Batman the Animated Series, episodes The Cat and the Claw, Justice League, Secret Origin 1 through 3, Spider-Man Night of the Lizard, and X-Men Night of the Sentinels. Okay. Good shows.
So definitely go down there, throw us $1, and you can put your vote in to help decide what we have to watch. All right.
You say it like it's a bad thing.
And on to our feature presentation. And Mike, why don't you introduce what we're talking about? Would you introduce what we're talking about?
2007's Bioshock.
This was your pick.
I think so. Sounds right.
It was. I wouldn't have picked it. The only before I played this game again, the only Bioshock that I would have ever put on the show was Infinite. The only one that I liked.
Bill's favorite.
Oh yeah, it's great. I'm trying to hold back my complete annoyance at the fact that someone said it's great. I'm not going to get into Infinite. I won't get into that. No, I don't like that game. Not that much.
I've only played Infinite once, and I played before this recording or for this research. I played the first Bioshock 1. I never played 2 because I hated 1. I played 1 probably in 2010, let's say, when I first got my 360, and I was so excited to play it. Bought it for like $20 or something, and I thought it was complete, utter garbage. I beat it. I played through the entire game. I'm like, this is stupid. I don't remember a whole lot. I just remember I really didn't like it, and And I've always been talking shit about this game ever since. I think I've done it on the air too.
Okay. How did this run? How did this playthrough go for you?
A lot better. I actually ended up really liking this game.
Oh, okay. What about you, Michael?
I bought this game even before I owned a 360. I ended up buying it and borrowing my brother's, and then beating it in a weekend. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
Oh, and we should say what version I played this. The HD remastered version on PC.
Same, but PS4.
Yeah, same on PC. Yep.
PC is the way to play this game, though.
I think so. I definitely had an easier time with the combat on PC. I played it for the first time on PS3 when it first came out with that port. Because this was originally an Xbox exclusive, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I think
it was a timed one. Because by the time that it came out on PS3, they added like New Game Plus and a couple other little things.
Right.
Oh, that makes sense. Well, 360 also got there before PS3 even came out, so.
Right. Yep.
So for those that don't know, which is probably, and no one listened to this episode, so this game is a first-person shooter that is a spiritual successor, I guess, to System Shock and System Shock 2, which I have never really played more than 10 minutes of, because it's the only game.
They're kind of hard to go back to at this point.
Yeah, I played about 15 minutes of System Shock 2, and I said, no, I don't need this anymore. So they are really hard to go back to.
The first one is, I think, a DOS game. So
yes.
It's really, I actually did download it at one point, was trying to play it, and I couldn't do it. 2's hard. Even though 2's newer, it was hard to go back to also.
It's still like 2000, so.
Is it that early or late, rather?
It's somewhere around there. Maybe 98.
So it's around the same time as Deus Ex, which I think plays a lot better.
Oh, yeah. I was just thinking that, too.
Yeah, than System Shock. Interesting. Okay.
1999.
Yeah.
And Deus Ex is...
99, I'm pretty sure.
I'm glad you found it, because when I Googled it, it did not work out very well.
It's fine.
So, Mike, what made you pick this game for the show?
Because it's good.
That's one of the reasons you need, I guess, right?
Good point. No, I'm glad you picked it. I'm glad that I finally got a chance to replay it. So, I mean, the one thing that I think that's so special or known about this game is that it takes place completely underwater.
Mm-hmm.
And the opening of this game, I had forgotten. Like when I went back to this game, I remembered nothing except for the fact that I didn't like it and it was a bullshit game. And you're underwater and it's first-person shooter. I remember nothing else. Like I had forgotten the plane crash in the beginning, of how he crashes in the water and he's the only survivor and he ends up going to this lighthouse.
Yeah, and actually, I'd like to very quickly talk a bit about kind of where this came from, especially the themes of it.
Sure. As
we kind of move through it. So, have you guys ever read Atlas Shrugged?
No, I know it's the inspiration for this though.
Yeah.
What is that,
Mike? Yeah. Good. Don't
Okay.
do that to yourselves. I have. This whole game a lot of this game is based off the theories of objectivism, which was my warning at the beginning of the episode. And objectivism is the theory that everyone in society should work and play and live exactly as they want without care for anybody else's opinions or thoughts. It is hyper capitalism, like super duper hyper capitalist, where there's no room for altruism. There's no room for social structure or like social services. If you are not living to the best of your ability, you are a leech on society. You are a grub that needs to be stamped out. And Atlas Shrugged is essentially a book that's a fictional book, and it's basically I'm not going to go through the story of Atlas Shrugged, but essentially it involves a guy named John Galt who invents a machine for perpetual energy. There are all these Randian figures who are these industry magnates. I think this is written in the 50s, so it's all like oil barons and steel barons and railroad tycoons, and not as fun as the game.
57.
It's basically all these industry types are tired of being leached from society. They're tired that the world is not supporting them and they're not doing what they ought to do. They are leeches off of them, so they all decide to strike. John Galt has a 80-page monologue in which he explains over the radio the entire theory of objectivism multiple times. 80-page monologue, friends. Oh, Lord. What they do is they decide to all retreat. John Galt basically gets everyone, all the major figures of the society, to retreat to a hidden force field protected Galt's Gulch, where they were going to let society crumble in on itself because no one would take their place. No one is as smart and as driven as they are. Society falls apart. They're going to come back once society falls apart and rebuild it in their image. And it's a nice happy ending in her world, in Ayn Rand's world. Bioshock is what really would happen if you did that. if you took that route. Bioshock is what happened when you tried to put together science and art and society without morals or rules or anything like that. It does not turn out well. We need those things in our society to keep things on a even keel. So if you have a friend and you go to their house and you see Atlas Shrugged on their bookshelf, don't disown them as friends. That's not the right thing. But talk to them and be like, are you okay? Because that's a really shitty philosophy to like have out there. You should just get rid of that book. I get it. Maybe it's up there. You read it when you were 22 and you're like, you make some salient points, Ayn Rand. And then you reach the world and the world is like, no, we need to be kind and empathetic towards people. Can't do that. Just get that off the shelf, my friend. So.
All right.
So that's kind of where the world of Bioshock starts, is that idea that Andrew Ryan, of course, is an anagram for Ayn Rand, has developed a city. Yeah, developed a city under the sea called Rapture, which is exactly that. Get the greatest minds of the world and allow them to create in a world where there is no restraint. There's no religion. There's no rules. There's no government. And hyper capitalist. And this is what happens. Okay. So I'll let you go ahead and run with that, Mike.
How many? Did they ever say how many years it's been since everything went to shit?
They don't. There is the New Year's Eve party. I forget the year that takes place. That's where Frank Fontaine, which we will meet later on in the game, Frank Fontaine with one of the worst accents. He launches the New Year's Eve attack or revolt, in which him and his cronies attack Andrew Ryan's cronies.
Okay.
Because that's what happens.
They talk about it in the novelization, but it's been so long since I read it. It's like a prequel to the game. It's all about setting up Rapture. Looks like
good.
It's all right.
All right.
Looks like construction began in late 45, and then what is it? It's New Year's. Shit, is it? It must be 60 according to.
Yeah,
this.
I have the wiki in front of me. I could just look at that and see. But.
Yeah, I was trying to figure it out. It's somewhere around there. So like. A little over 10 years.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious about that because, I mean, the way that this game like presents it to you, like that first scene after you get to the lighthouse and you end up walking into it and you find the first fear that takes you into the city because you don't know what else to do. I mean, you're just out in a random lighthouse in the middle of the ocean. You just survived a plane crash. Like, it does a good job of really putting you into this world, and you just see, as you're going through this tube, like, I think you see a squid go by as you're just seeing this giant underwater city, and it really is kind of breathtaking. Like, playing the HD version on my laptop, I'm like, wow, this looks really cool.
Yeah, that first reveal is still awesome.
It's one of the greatest in games, I think. It still holds up. It's gorgeous. All the mystery that's wrapped around it. You know, what is this amazing Art Deco world that I'm now in? Yeah, it's awesome.
And I mean, it does a good job of getting you ready for what's coming without really explaining anything. Like, I think there's a recording of Andrew Ryan that comes on too in the beginning of this.
Yep.
Okay. I beat this about a week ago. I actually beat this game in like 3 days. I couldn't stop playing.
Yeah, he gives you the whole. He gives you the whole. Should you not be, allowed to have the sweat of your brow and whatnot?
The man in the Vatican says you cannot.
It belongs to God.
It belongs to God.
Can you just imagine building a city underwater like that, though? I got nothing. How will you even do that?
No, I don't know, but it's there and it's gorgeous. It's easily one of the best parts of this game is the setting, and that's everyone talks about the setting. It's one of the most unique in games. The fact it's constantly leaking is so scary. It's about to fall apart. It's pretty awesome.
Because as you're going through, well, the whole thing is that at the time that you're here, we've kind of said everything's gone to shit. You have people running around killing each other. You have leaks everywhere. I mean, the whole leaks is kind of freaky because I don't like underwater. I could never be in a sub. Like, I have no interest in being something that deep where you're dead.
Yeah, I've said this many times on the show. Water is scary. It's the scariest element on this planet because it's just like you said, Michael. Mike, it's if that leak becomes an ocean, as we see a couple times where things just burst. There's nothing you can do. You're just dead man drowning. So not great.
And even your first scene with the splicers, I think you have some random guy who's trying to, help you or meet you because I think do you have a radio right away, or they heard someone was coming to the bathysphere, so they came. I can't remember.
Radio's in the bathysphere.
Yeah. Oh, okay, so that's when you start talking to Atlas.
Did we get a spoiler warning for this?
No, but we should.
Probably be a good episode for that.
Good point. There will be spoilers for Bioshock. Came in 2007, so I mean that was
maybe even some for 2 and Infinite.
Possibly.
Okay, we'll just put that warning in there. We'll try to stay away from 2 and Infinite spoilers, but definitely spoilers for Bioshock 1.
It is a complete circle if you play all the DLC.
It sure is. Well, it's more of a retcon than anything else. Yeah, it's more of an oops-a-daisy. We made a lot of mistakes in Infinite. Let's give you a game where you can do all those things with not the right mechanics.
I guess I know who we're bringing back for Infinite.
Sucks. Stupid Infinite.
We will be for sure. So I like how Atlas is the first guy to talk to you, and again, now you bring the Atlas Shrug thing in, that brings more to where his name comes from. So I think that's kind of funny.
And the first thing he says to you is, "Would you kindly pick up that shortwave radio?"
Yeah.
I had completely forgotten that whole reference, because I mean, when I was talking about this, so you're like, "Oh, would you kindly?" And I'm like, "Okay." And they keep saying, "Would you kindly? Would you kindly do this? Would you?" And I'm like, "Okay." And nowhere did it click of where this game goes with that. None of that was in my head anymore.
Neat little note on an Atlas. It was originally supposed to be a Southern gentleman accent, but when they did play testing, people just didn't like it. They didn't trust them for some weird reason. I don't know. So they switched to an Irish actor. Fun little story. When I lived in New York, I have a friend who I don't know how we were talking about voice acting or games or anything, but he mentioned, he's like, "Oh, video games. I have a friend who did a voice acting on a video game recently." I'm like, "Oh yeah, what game?" Or not recently, but I'm like, "Oh, what game was that?" He's like, "Bio something." I'm like, "Bioshock?" He's like, "Oh yeah, Bioshock. Is there like an Irish guy in Bioshock?" Yeah, he's like the main character. He's like, "Oh yeah, that's my friend. He did the voice for Atlas in Bioshock." Wow. And sure enough, that's who he was. Yeah, he's an actual Irish guy. People make fun of the accent. It's a real Irish dude. So I know. Yeah,
explains why the New York accent's so bad then.
Yeah, I guess so. I forget if the same guy did that accent as well, but yeah, possibly, because that gangster accent is, oh boy, not great.
Ends up just sounding like Tom Wilson, Biff from Back to the Future. I actually had to look it up. I'm like, is that just Biff?
So what? It was the same guy who did the.
As far as I know, yeah. It was
yeah. Okay, so there you go. That makes sense then.
Because it does drastically change when one of the twists happens in this game.
Yo,
It's probably my favorite line in the whole game. Nice work, boyo. Real good.
It is very good.
But I mean, just the opening is also like so brutal. Like as you see this guy get murdered in front of you after you are talking, and he's there to kind of like show you what's going on, and you start seeing the splicers, which are just random like normal people that just are like, I guess, kind of like drug addicts at this point from the plasmids.
It messes your mind real bad.
Well, yeah, which makes sense. I mean, you are taking some really heavy stuff in this game.
It's literally rewriting your genetic code, as Atlas tells you, in a few minutes.
Yeah, that would really fuck you up.
Right, because why would you safely want to test something and kind of go through the motions? No. Science without morality. Just stick it in your veins. See what happens.
Yeah, that's all. That's all in that novel.
Is it? Is it really?
Yep.
Okay.
I want to read that now.
I'll skip it.
Oh, fun.
Not Atlas Shrugged. I mean the Bioshock novel.
No.
Fontaine was a different guy, so sorry, sir.
Fair enough.
But it's just so, like, I mean, and that was the thing that kind of had, I had remembered the fact that there were splicers. I remember them being, like, the regular enemy in the game, but I didn't remember a whole lot. And I also, like, one thing I know that this game is so famous for is you get a wrench. So that's your melee weapon that you get really, I think the first thing you get very quickly after the scene.
Yep. He tells you to pick up a crowbar like you're Gordon Freeman.
Yeah, basically.
Which is funny. I mean, the wrench is actually a really good weapon. Like, I was surprised how good it is useful even late in the game.
Oh, it's my main weapon.
See, I was wondering if you had done it. Michael, I had a funny feeling. Did he just do lightning melee the entire time?
I did lightning and shooting machine gun the entire time.
It's Bioshock. We can talk about the combat now. It's fine. Bioshock plays okay. It's perfectly serviceable. It's not great. It's not a wonderful first-person shooter. You can definitely play the entire game if you spec for melee, just lightning and melee, or if you want to do telekinesis and melee, because telekinesis is more fun.
Yeah, you get so many different plasmids. I only use lightning. I equip other ones, but I only use lightning.
Wow.
I used a bunch. I played with the toolbox this time around.
I don't know how I'm still surprised after doing this show for almost a year.
You know, you shouldn't be.
Really shouldn't.
I did stay away from the wrench. I had to stop myself from like, oh, I'm going to use the wrench. I made myself use the handgun, the machine gun. I fell in love with the shotgun in this game for some reason.
That's good.
That's all right.
I think I just like shotguns in games for the most part, but I use it a lot. And it took me a while to want to use the other, because each gun would get different ammos, like anti-personal rounds and anti-armor rounds. And I wouldn't use them until I got to the point where everything was maxed out. I'm like, I probably should use that ammo I can't pick up anymore. That's what finally got me to use it. I think when I played this game the first time, I didn't use guns because I was trying to play it like a horror game, like a survival horror, and not use ammo, which don't play it like that.
No.
So I mean, that was another thing. So this time I went to it not doing that.
If you're playing on easy, you can play it pretty much however you want because the game is a cakewalk.
Yeah, and even on normal, it's really you're never hurting for ammo midway through.
You're constantly full on money, ammo, health kits, and everything.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, and I do gotta say, I don't ever need to play the slime pipe game ever again for a while.
You don't like Pipe Dream?
Yeah, I was saying you don't like Pipe Dream.
I hacked so many things in this game.
Oh, you have to.
I hacked every turret, almost every little like sentry thing. That I hacked everything. I got to a point where I'm just like, well, now that I beat this game, I don't like Pipe Dream again.
Speaking of combat, there's a quote unquote weapon that I know you didn't use a whole lot, and that is the research camera. Which, as you take pictures, you kind of build experience against certain things, and when you max out the turrets and the security drones, you can hack them without doing that game. It just hacks automatically.
Why didn't you tell me this before we?
I told you get damage bonuses for everything. You should be dumping all your film into every enemy you come across.
Yes.
I did start after you said something about like midway through the game. I want to say.
God.
I did start using the camera after you said something. I didn't use it at first. I'm like, playing on a keyboard, I had to hit 6 to switch to the camera, and then 2 to switch back to a gun or something, or 1 for the wrench. And I don't know, just for me, I use the same, using the same hand. I had to move my hand to hit the keys, and I didn't like it, so I wouldn't switch weapons a lot. Plus, when you first switch to the camera, everything's blurry for a second while he lines up.
That's a good point. I use the research camera half the time, and I was disappointed I didn't use it more because those bonuses are just so choice. The main bonus you want to get, and I forget what enemy type gives you this, there's a plasmid that allows you to become invisible when you stand still.
The Houdini splicers.
Oh, that's the Houdini. So that's how I broke the game, because you just walk into an area, you stand still, they can't see you, and then you snipe their heads off with trap bolts or with steel bolts, and that's literally how you can get through the latter half of the game with very little. No, I'll say very little issue, because you do need to take on big daddies. Talk about that character design, and we'll talk about little sisters and all that.
Yeah, if you want to break the game, you use the invisibility or active camouflage is what it's called, and then you get one that quiets your footsteps and does more damage with the wrench to unaware enemies, and frozen field, which makes your wrench do ice damage and more damage, and you can basically sneak up on everything and kill in a couple swipes, especially on easy.
Nice.
Yeah,
I got a couple of those. I didn't get because I hated the Houdini slasher. They were the worst enemy for me.
You know why? Because you're not taking pictures of them.
I couldn't. I hated them. I just saw them, and it was just kill them immediately. There was no. I mean, I did try to take pictures of stuff later. I think I maxed out spider slicers and a couple of them that I took a lot of pictures because I was listening to you finally. But Houdinis were one of those I did not mess with. I just hated them so much. Every time they came on the screen, I was irritated.
Yeah, I really I don't particularly like playing with melee in any game. I'm just not a melee guy, so I always end up shooting instead of smacking. Yeah, I've seen runs of this game where literally they'll use electricity and wrench the entire time.
I thought that was the only way to play the game.
But yeah, no, it's no, and that's fun. That's the fun of this game too. There's a big toolbox, and I try to use every tool in there. I stuck with machine gun, kind of like you, even though it's horribly inaccurate. It is horribly inaccurate.
Not if you're close.
Well, that's the thing. I'm always shooting from afar.
Oh, I was
trying to shoot from afar at least. But because there's so much ammo. Should also talk. There's different ammo types per every weapon. The big drawback to combat is you can only use you'd only have weapon or plasmid equipped. You can't kind of dual wield.
Does that change later in the series for Infinite or 2?
Oh, it changed. Two, the gunplay in combat in 2 is miles better than.
And that makes sense. I mean, this was all 7.
The hacking minigame is completely different in 2.
It's much better. It doesn't pause everything, so it's not like in Bioshock, if you go to hack something and play Pipe Dreams, which I don't get tired of. I love Pipe Dreams. I was super into it. I got really good at it. I love it. I find it a lot of fun. I can see why people would say it gets stale.
I would rather do that than the same lock-picking minigame that Bethesda has done since Fallout 3. I'm so sick of that.
Me too. I'm tired of that. I always upgrade lockpicking very quickly, so it's just easy. So I don't have to spend a lot of time messing with it. Yeah, the dumb lock. Bioshock 2, what they do is instead of that, the game doesn't stop. A little meter shows up, and it's one of those sliding needle puzzles where you have to land it in the green to unlock it. Kind of like Deus Ex Man. I think Mankind Divided does that with one of its things, but it's pretty common style, but it's quick. It's just fast. The action doesn't stop, and it forces you. It's just a quick little thing that it makes you do. So
I'm glad the game pauses though when you're playing Pipe Dreams, so I could just sit there and hit all my buttons.
Yeah, it's kind of a good relaxer, right? And but it also takes you out of the experience. But
it does a little bit, especially when you're hacking every single thing you see because you need it.
Have to hack everything, hack the world. And I'm going to sound like a caricature of another podcast I like because they say the exact same thing. But anytime I get to turn the tables on my enemies, like use their weapons against them or use their people against them, I am all in on that. I use a lot of the Big Daddy. We'll talk about Big Daddies in a minute, but there's a plasma where you can have the Big Daddy join you. Mm-hmm. Like join your team.
Oh yeah, I got that.
Boy, is that fun for mobs. Man, oh boy. Just here, throw that, turn invisible, and just watch the carnage.
I didn't use it ever.
Oh, it's great. It takes an entire thing of Eve, but of course, because it's Adam and Eve.
When you first inject yourself with the first plasma that starts this whole thing, does he say, would you kindly, to get you to do it?
I think so.
You do it on your own volition.
Okay. That's kind of cool.
You come out of the doorway and you hear the Gatherer's Garden Machine behind you talking about being smarter than Einstein, stronger than Hercules. So Jack probably just thinks, hey, that sounds good to me.
I'm going to need every advantage I can get, stick this into my veins, and then everyone else seemed to do it. And that
it worked out well for them, obviously.
And I think that gives you electricity because that's your first one.
That's the first one. That's partly why I stuck with it too. I have a bad habit in a game where the first thing you give me, I will keep that first thing you give me and only use that thing.
It's common. And I have the same issue. That's why I actively try to use the entire toolbox as much as possible.
I blame Dead Space for the one gun achievement.
Is that really a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's an achievement for going through the entire game with just the plasma cutter.
And that's that did lead to that problem that I have now.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't help it.
Yeah, it's funny. Cool.
So I only play with one gun when I can help it.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, in this game, I used all the guns. I tried the fire plasmid, I tried the ice plasmid, but I just didn't like it. So then
Fire is
I
relatively useless other than getting into new areas. I don't like fire because then they just run towards you. And then I have to clunkily switch back to my weapon to dispatch them. Telekinesis is super fun in this game. It's another thing that if you're good with it, you can break it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's constantly flammable things around. Actually, and flinging enemies at other dead enemies at other enemies is really effective.
Oh yeah, that's the best way to use that.
Yep, super
Okay.
effective.
I never did that.
You can one shot a lot of splicers by doing that.
I mean, one thing on easy, like you could kill people so fast, like Mike was saying, like it didn't take many hits and they were just dead.
Oh, Mike, what did you play this game on? Did you play it on hard? Like hardcore mode?
I've done it. I have all the achievements on this for 360, so
Okay.
Being on the hardest difficulty with no Vita chambers, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah,
what are the Vita chambers do again? I never died, so
when you die, it just spits you back out of one of those, the closest one.
It's just a respawn point, basically. That's all it is. And from the fiction, it will allow you to come back if you're wired with Andrew Ryan's genetic code. So it only works for people that are related to Andrew Ryan, which is a bit of a surprise once you get to the midpoint of this game, where you realize a certain thing we'll get to. But
okay.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he respawn then?
That is an excellent question.
The story said no.
Yeah, because the story said no. Come on, let's go. This is a game. It's a game.
Okay, that's cool though. I remembered the Vita chambers. I know when I played this game before, it probably was on normal, knowing me. So I would have died, but this time it was just straight up easy. I'm just like, get me through this game. I don't want to play this. I don't want to start it. That went away fast though.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. So we went through the combat, which is fine. The plasmids, which are fine. That combat is improved upon in Bioshock 2 because you can actually properly dual wield, and it just opens up the game quite a bit. Plus, you have a drill hand, which is awesome.
I look forward to trying 2 someday.
It's great. I
Maybe
really
next
love it too. Yeah, 2's good.
I mean, it's just, and it's the way that the game just kind of progresses you through, where things just keep happening. And I like how you always are like little quests, like, and you have an arrow that tells you where to go, which I love in games. I love when the game tells me, go here, do this. All right. And another thing that's I thought very interesting, this game is broken up into, each area is broken up into its own section, and you can go back to them. Like there was one, I think it's the second section, where the game told me, if you leave, you didn't harvest all the little sisters, you can't come back. Well, they lied, because I went at the end of the game, went back and went and got her, because I was missing one. And I think that's so powerful about this game, is that as you have the story moving you, you also have the ability to break the story and do your own thing if you need to, or go back in areas. And people kind of stay dead that you kill. Enemies don't just keep constantly respawning, which is nice too. They're not. And
that
you get a lot of health.
That must be on easy mode, because they sure do it in normal.
On easy, they
enemies
don't.
And enemies are constantly coming back. New splicers appear. Not as many usually, like 1 or 2. We'll be cruising around, but that must be an easy mode thing.
It'll spawn new ones when you hit certain story triggers. But if you're going back to old areas, there probably aren't any.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, that's
right.
what I'm talking about. Because I would kill everyone I saw in this game.
Well, you have to. I mean,
well, I also love looting their bodies, because you get money, and hey, you can even loot ashtrays. Sometimes you even get lucky and have a candy bar in an ashtray.
Well, at least it's not like Bioshock Infinite, where you spend your entire diet rummaging through crash cans. Like, because evidently the denizens of Colombia like to throw away perfectly good apples and pep bars and just throw them away. We have everything we need.
So when we were playing this, Mike had made a comment. He's like, I would never eat a candy bar or ashtray. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Then it clicked. Oh yeah, he's playing Bioshock. So Mike, I have a question for you. So you never drank or tasted ash, have you, before? That wonderful?
No.
Okay,
No.
It's terrible. Because when I was younger and I used to live with smokers, people sometimes, any smoker knows this, they'll put their ashes in a cup, like a McDonald's cup, and then you're like, oh look, this is my pop, and you start drinking it, and it's not your pop. It's terrible.
Wow, I've never experienced this rite of passage. Yeah, it doesn't sound
Ash
good.
tastes terrible.
Can't imagine.
Even worse when it's not your ash, because you're not smoking. So there's my story. There's my story corner.
Cool.
Thank you, Mike. You reminded me of that terrible memory.
Okay.
I just want.
So I guess moving on with the story. So does anyone have like the walkthrough? I don't remember. Who has a favorite section?
I like Arcadia, just the whole forest biome, I guess.
That is cool.
It's different from what you see the rest of the game, where it's just narrow corridors and all of a sudden you have trees everywhere for a brief period.
Yep.
It's also when you meet,
Oh, go ahead.
I think Andrew Ryan's lover. I don't think in this part.
I don't think you meet her.
I thought you go up to her later because you watch her die through the window.
You're right. That's true.
No, Julie's just a business partner. Julie
just a business partner.
Okay.
His lover is long dead. You actually stumble across their boudoir. I guess
he's right though. That is super freaking cool. Like it's a nice change up, and I like how he starts flooding. He kills the plants at one point to try to kill you, which will take all the oxygen out of the entire, Rapture. Mm-hmm. Also, I don't know how it's getting oxygen when everything is sealed off in different parts, but hey, neither here nor there.
The pneumotubes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We'll go with that.
Sure. Air comes out of pneumotubes.
I think Arcadia is also kind of a big area. You have to kind of go around to different places like the farmer's market and find these different items in order to build the antidote once you get there. And when he kills his business partner, that's kind of like that's a little. I think you're outside the window and he just floods the room with the gas and kills her.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
I'm a big fan of Fort Frolic. I love Fort Frolic. I love Sander Cohen. I love all that stuff. Creepy.
Yeah, Sander Cohen that was a creepy scene. Ooh. Well, I mean, this whole game is full of creepy scenes. Like the doctor in the first part, who's like operating on people, and one of the diaries you can pick up. I picked up every diary, but I didn't like listening to them usually until I figured out I could listen to them while I'm running around killing things, so it didn't affect my gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
And then he talks about, I'm going to help you. She's like, what are you doing with that? And she just starts cutting her face up. You can just hear her screaming on the diary.
So good. You were going to say something, Michael?
No, just the way it should be. You should be able to listen to audio diaries while you're still playing, not stuck in a menu.
Yes, thank you. Games, don't stop that. Stop doing that. Just let us walk around while we're listening to the audio diaries. Don't turn it off on us. Please.
And what we're
reading lengthy data pads or something.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
or we don't want someone talking to us on a radio where we can't hit any other buttons or attack the people in front of us, or we just have to hold this orange radio in our hand while Otis talks to us. We don't want to do that.
Which game is that?
Dead Rising.
Oh, Dead Rising. Okay. Yeah, it's a bad mechanic. Don't do that. When you talk about Steinman, Steinman's amazing. I love that he's again, medicine without morality. Just hey, I can fix everything, and mix that with a cocktail of gene splicing, mixtures made out of sea slugs, and boy oh boy, you get a maniac.
Everybody's terrible.
Yeah, no one's good. There's no redeeming.
And my question is, how does the city even really go get anywhere? Because I feel like people just start killing each other pretty quickly if you take away any, punishment.
Yeah, if you have no rules, then why would anyone follow any? And especially if you're, we have natural rules that we live by because we're human beings that live on this planet. But when you start now splicing up with genetic juice, you've just turned into monsters because you're now, fundamentally changing who we are as human beings. It's an interesting point, right?
And the enemies do change up. I felt like decently. Like yes, a lot of them kind of fit in the same type, like spider slicers, lead splicers, Houdini splicers. But I feel like they did change up a little bit the way that they played as the game progressed for me. Like they got harder, of course, and I had to actually do a little bit more different things and not just stand there and take hits all the time. Because I didn't. I just would run at people, just shoot them, and just hit them with once I got close enough, hit them with a wrench. If that what it came to.
I just run up to them and take a bunch of pictures until it doesn't give me any more experience for it, and then I kill them.
Now, again, because if you take a bunch of pictures, you get less experience per shot, but you get something, right?
Yep.
Okay, see, that's what I always did, because that was why I didn't get all the upgrades through the camera, is that I would take the one shot, and then I would kill them. I didn't go over and over again. So yeah, it's probably where I fell short on that one. Did anyone go to dentistry in
yes.
whatever? Yeah, did you? Okay. Did you experience may I tell a quick story?
Of course.
Sure.
You mind? Okay. So the first time I played this was, I don't remember. I think I was living in New York, so it must have been like 2009, 10, something like that. I'm going to dentistry, and there's a section where if you turn a corner, it's a long corridor with water that's about hip deep. So you have to walk slowly. And on the far end, in silhouette, is a splicer just murdering something, right? Cackling and murdering. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Vaguely.
So I'm walking towards, because I didn't go to dentistry this time. I'll never step through those doors again. I don't care what's in there. So I'm walking through, and all of a sudden the lights go out. So now you're just walking. The sound of screaming and sloshing. Lights come back on again, and the guy's gone. Splicer's gone. Take the turn. You see what he was doing. Horror, murder, great. Grab whatever was there. I turn around and I start walking back because I've been through this area. As soon as I walk out and I go back into this main section, a splicer jumps out of a drawer, like jump scare leaps. I'm playing this on PS3 at the time. I start shooting in the air. Splicer murders me. I dropped the game, turn it off, went to the bar, got hammered, didn't pick the game up for another 6 months.
Wow.
Did not. I was like, that's it. I'm never playing this again. Too scary. No. Nope. That was right. Yeah, go ahead.
That's not even the worst offender when it comes to the jump scares that I always hear people mention. It's somewhere around Fort Frolic where you go down a staircase and this entire room is flooded and there's a gene tonic all the way at the other end. And when you get it, you turn around and there are these mannequins or splicers painted up like mannequins. And when you get close to them, they all attack you.
Yeah, that's a little more creepy than scary because I kind of suspected that. The one that really gets me. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there's another one where you pick up a gene tonic or something and you turn around, there's a splicer right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And actually, if you just stand there, it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
It just stands there and stares at you. But yes, that is freaking terrifying. That was the other one that caused me to turn it off until my brother-in-law said, I explained the story to him. He's like, just play with the sound off. I'm like, huh. So the first time I played this game, I played with the sound off and the subtitles on, and it was not as scary. I felt very comfortable just walking around doing my thing. So that was the first. This time around, I did not. I played with the sound on, and I did not go into dentistry. When you get to see it, I didn't. No, I was like, fuck that. I ain't doing that.
Did you pick up the shotgun in medical though?
I did. Yeah. Well, the shotgun is the one that's in the middle of the right.
Yeah, in the middle of the floor.
Yeah, well, you have to pick that up. There's no.
Nope.
Huh.
No, you got another one later on.
It's a shotgun with a light on it. Like I play games. This game is also trying to tell me about how I play games. You see a shotgun in the middle of the floor with a light on it, you pick it up. That's just natural gameplay.
It's not a shotgun in a picture frame. You don't want to pick those up though.
I asked Mike if he got the trapped shotgun. He's like, I have a shotgun. I said, well, it's in medical. You pick it up, the lights go off, and you're swarmed by splicers. He's like, oh, yeah, I did that.
That was fun. I played this entire game with headphones on, sound on the entire time. No podcast, nothing. Just
wow.
I had to, and I was enjoying myself. Like, I can't imagine playing this game. And I would also try to play this game when nobody was around because I didn't want to be distracted. I just wanted to play the game. I got so immersed in this game. It was great.
Well, I gotta be careful because I have to look around every once in a while to make sure a child isn't walking in, while I'm murdering a splicer. It's yeah. And actually, let's talk a bit about, because I'm just now chomping at the bit to talk about it. Big Daddies. How great are Big Daddies?
They're pretty sweet. I love their design.
The first time I played this game, I skipped them all because I was scared to fight them, and I didn't want to use up ammunition, and that was a big mistake. So I wouldn't fight the Big Daddy.
Why? They're the most fun. They're so fun.
Stupid?
No,
that's all I got. That's all I got to why I didn't do it.
You're not stupid. You like to play games your way.
Well, this was in 2011, Mike. This wasn't this Mike. So that Mike was stupid. We're not going to get to it, but that Mike was dumb.
Fair enough. We all grow, and that's good. Michael, how did you approach Big Daddies? Because I bet you probably approached it the same way I did.
I approached it with a grenade launcher, typically.
Well, grenade launcher and traps. I was a big fan of proximity mines. Big Daddies are rough because they don't really knock them back, and grenades will. I actually, and this was a tip I got from a different podcast, or forgot where I got it, but the electric buck is super effective because every shot stops them. And then electric buck, if you want, you can switch to grenade launcher, but you really can't. Or hit them with something else, like a telekinesis, something in their face. Boom, back to the electric buck. Boom, hit them again.
Armored piercing rounds. Take care of
What's that?
The armored piercing rounds do a lot of damage too.
Yeah, I just terribly inaccurate, and that was and they don't stop the charge. You just fill them full of.
They're not inaccurate. You just have to get pummeled into the wall and just hold on the fire button, and they hit every time.
Oh, I see. Yes, yeah. I try to use my range weapons as range weapons. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yes, the armor piercing does well too, but I use that electric buck, and that's all I used it for, and it served me pretty well.
It does work well. I would shock them, pull out the shotgun, and just hit them with the shotgun, and try to strafe when the big drill is coming for my face. That didn't always work though, and I'd get just hammered into the wall and be like, "Well, I guess we'll just play who has we'll play the battle of nutrition. I'll win." So
yeah. And the Big Daddies are awesome. I really do want a Big Daddy plush. I know they exist out there somewhere. I really want a toy Big Daddy, and I want a toy Songbird from Infinite. Even as much as I don't like Infinite, Songbird is pretty awesome.
I'm pretty sure the collector's edition, both of them came with Big Daddy statues and Songbird statues.
Okay, because I think I've seen them before. I'd like to get my hands on it.
There's no Big Daddy plush, but there is a Mr. Bubbles collector's plush for $40 on Amazon.
Yeah, with the baseball head and all that.
Aw.
No, it's just a Big Daddy and called. I don't think this one has baseball. It's just called Mr. Bubbles. I want to make the joke.
I'm pretty sure there are plushes of like replicas of what the little sisters carry around, the ones they've made themselves.
Oh, they carry stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I didn't pay attention. I just grabbed the little girls and
maybe it's in 2.
rescued them.
Wait, which one? I'm sorry, I was distracted.
The little sisters, the little dolls they have of Big Daddies that they made themselves. They have like the baseball head and all that.
Yeah, I don't remember it. I think that might have been in this one. Yeah, it might have been. I can't remember though.
You might see them in Tenenbaum's den when you get there later in the game.
Little Tenenbaum. Yep. And then Little Sisters, of course, are they very terrifying idea or concept. It's really gross.
Oh God, yes.
They are designed to grow Adam inside their bodies, and then they also go around harvesting Adam from dead splicers. The Big Daddies are designed to protect them at all costs. Did anyone get a chance to watch the trailer, like the original Bioshock trailer?
I've seen it.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. It's a pretty cool first person kind of exploration of what Bioshock is, and it ends pretty grisly and gross, which of course makes me go giggle. And then, it's a really great concept. Now, did you guys harvest the sisters, or did you save them?
Go ahead, Mike.
I rescued everyone because I'm always goody two shoes when I play games. I just can't help it. And I went and got every single little sister in this game. I don't normally do that in a game. Because I didn't need the Atom. I would buy the extra stuff, and I'm like,
you clearly weren't using them. So.
What's up?
You clearly weren't using them.
No, I wasn't. But I would buy them just because. Like, I would just buy everything because it was there, and I just wanted to complete this game. I guess, kinda. In that aspect of it, where it gave me a reason to keep playing and continue my playthrough. Every single little girl, I would rescue them all. I never killed any of them.
For the sake of the show, because I know Mike always plays good, I tend to play evil just to balance it out. So I was harvesting them all, and it's been a long time since I harvest, because you actually get more Adam by saving them. You get less at a time, but then you get the little bundles for every 3. Right. But when you harvest them, the screen goes green, and you can actually hear their heartbeats slow down and stop. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Do they scream no at you too? When you rescue them?
Yeah, it's a little different, but yeah, they still do that.
Okay.
Well, yeah, they don't trust you. You just killed their Big Daddy, and they don't. But then when you rescue them, of course, they turn into weirdly modeled, Unreal Engine creatures. Like
my wife is like, are they automatons? They look weird. I'm like, no, that's just how they look.
Nope, that's just the engine they use. This doesn't make people well. I saved every single one too.
Okay.
I have to. I can't. Because it really does imply that you are ripping them open to get to the juicy Adam stuff. Like, that's what it's implying. I mean, I don't know how else you get in there. So it is really horrifying and gross. You can do one. You can harvest one and still get the good ending. Because there are multiple endings here. So
kind of.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Great. No, they're not great. And that's anthemic of the series. No, I shouldn't say that.
Yeah, when you harvest them, the screen goes green, and then you're holding a sea slug, and you just kind of toss it aside. So you kind of revert them into just base Adam, I guess.
No, I think you just blorp them and grab the Adam sea slug that lives within them. So that's how I always took it. But then again, I'm a gross human being, so I shouldn't. Where my brain goes. But it's again really great mechanic. Big Daddies are one of the better enemies in games, in my opinion. They're just super fun. You get to fight them in a variety of ways. Player expression.
Are they ever called? When are they called Big Daddy? Because when you look at them, they're called the Bouncers, and they call them Mr. Bubbles.
Atlas refers to him the first time you see one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's like, you think that's a child down there? And he talks about the little sister. And then when the Splicer comes in and attacks her, and Big Daddy comes out and kills her, he says, that's a Big Daddy. She gathers the Adam, and he washes her back.
Yeah, because you see a scene later on, which we'll get to, but they just inject the little needle gun into them and just start sucking it up.
Yep.
To dead people.
The angels are waiting for their kisses.
Yeah, that's right. And in Bioshock 2, you get this amazing moment that when they actually harvest that Adam, you have to set up a perimeter to protect them. So it's kind of like a little, I guess, do you call that tower defense, I guess? I don't know if that's the right term. You have to protect your little sister. So it allows you to set up traps and find your entry points. And then you have to kind of fight off splicers until she's done. And it's so freaking fun. Okay. So good.
It's more fun in 2 than the little section that you have to do it in this one.
Yeah, there's Yeah, that little section that's in the sad in the dead part of this game, which we'll definitely talk about. Most people who like Bioshock like the first 2/3, and then the final third, people are not as hot on. They think it's boring and tedious. I disagree to a point.
I enjoyed the entire game. I had a great experience from beginning to end.
So did I.
Which was not what I expected. Like everything with Tenenbaum, like the one who's creating the little sisters. Because as I was rescuing, like she is just so like she's like my sins can't be forgiven for what I've done to turn these little girls into murdering monsters.
Yep,
it's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, she people Tenenbaum discovers some morals and realizes that she's done wrong and is working out to right those wrongs, and that is good. I mean, and like how like a good chunk, like you have Atlas that's kind of stringing you along. Because you're trying to help him rescue his family in quotations. I think Ryan blows up something, and he's like, "Okay, now we're gonna go get Ryan finally." And
you're trying to get to the sub and the smuggler's den, and he ends up blowing the sub up.
Okay.
Which is where Moira and Patrick are supposedly at.
Supposedly.
Oh,
we should.
Yeah.
As you're heading to the last sphere that leads you to where Andrew Ryan is, that's when you get to Sander Cohen, which we mentioned a little bit. We should talk about Sander.
Yes, we should. I love Sander.
One of the most fucked up scenes in a game in a while. Like just everything to him, where you have to kill his friends or people he worked with, like the guy at the piano. And I got stuck at this part because the first guy you see is playing the piano. He lights him on fire, or you do, or something happens, and you're supposed to take a picture of him. Well, I didn't know what to do. I went and wandered around until I finally I read something. Oh, take a picture. I'm like, I guess I should have been paying attention.
Yeah, he tells you that.
I wasn't listening. I had headphones, but I wasn't listening to him.
And your intro to Sander Cohen is him sitting in the theater with the guy playing piano, and he continues screaming, "Play better!" or whatever it is. And finally, because this guy is not playing piano well because he's a juiced up splicer, he electrocutes him or blows him away or does something.
Yeah, he blows him up.
Oh, he lights him on fire, yeah. And that's he kind of takes you around this to finish his art piece.
Unless you played the game before, then you run straight up on stage and hit him with the wrench and you explode him. And then he's like, "Oh, I guess you're not a fan of music."
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that is correct. Yeah. Yep. Whole 4 Frolics fun. There's so many different little areas and things to find. Big push of this game is it's 0451, right? It's 0451, legacy of it being an immersive sim, which is just discovering and learning things through the environment that you're in. And there is literally, I don't know, it's one of my favorite things in games. And when you just walk around and learn stuff. It's
all the Deus Ex use that as their first code.
Yep. And Prey uses it for their first code as well. So if you're playing a game that titles itself an immersive sim, the first code of the game is going to be 0451. That's just kind of like that, the hallmark.
Okay. I learned something new.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting part. Like I got stuck in this area for a while because I had to melt a door, and it took me a second to realize I forgot that I had that power. I didn't use it.
Yeah. Wow. I don't use fire much at all. Yeah.
Once you get the napalm or the chemical thrower, you don't need it because you can just use the napalm to melt the ice.
Oh, that's that squirt gun that I never used, not even once in the entire game.
I didn't use the crossbow. I beat this game twice and I didn't use the crossbow.
I use crossbow all the time. I used it. That became my main. Once I had, because you can also, when you're using the crossbow, I'm with Mike on that. I never really used the flamethrower / nitrogen thrower because the range is a little on the short side. And again, it doesn't stop anything. So if you're in a mob, you're not stopping anybody by using this to just set on fire, running around senselessly.
Yeah, I just use it in lieu of the plasmids because you can use napalm to melt the ice, and then whatever the electric gel is called. It might just be electric gel. You can use it in place of the electrobolt.
Okay.
So. Yeah, I know. I always had enough Eve to do the electrobolt. So, and plus, you're able to upgrade. We didn't mention that you can upgrade your plasmids throughout the game, so they become more powerful. So I just put upgrades into my electrobolt, and I was more than fine for everything I came across.
Because you get that's what you use the atom for.
Yeah, I didn't really use electrobolt this time around.
Interesting. No, I use it all the time. Again, I like stopping and shooting. I'm a big fan of that. And I use the trap bolt. Yeah, I use not the trap bolt, but the steel bolts because you can recover them from the enemies. So if you trap somebody like in the head or catch them in the arm, you can go back in there and grab that bolt. Sometimes, not all the time.
Which I thought was weird for me because I like crossbows and bows in games a lot, but I got it, but I never used it. I'm like, I'm saving this, and I don't know what I was saving it for, but I was saving it. You
should play Half-Life then. That should be episode 282. Let's just do that one because you desperately need the crossbow for that one.
I need to play Half-Life 1 and 2 because I've never played either of them, but that's some other time. One day.
But anyway, So yeah, we get to the point where are we at now? Oh yeah, we're at the point where Sandra Cohen, he's awesome. You basically complete his masterpiece, and then he turns on you, right?
Just weird statues holding picture frames, and then you put pictures of his dead disciples in them.
Yes.
Which is weird.
Which is pretty weird.
Then you get the irony achievement for taking a picture of him if you choose to fight him.
Yeah.
Oh, you can choose?
Oh, yeah.
You don't have to. Yeah.
I killed that fucker.
Nope. I didn't actually. This time around, I was like, Sander, you're a psychopath. I don't know. I like the cut of your jib. I'm gonna let you live. Because what's really cool is if you do that later on in the game when you discover his apartment in was it Mercury Suites, I think it is.
Yeah.
He'll be there, like hanging out. Just hanging out. And then you can choose to whether or not to murder him or not.
Oh, that's cool.
Yep.
If you kill him, you take the key to his muse, which is just a chest with weird shit in it. And then if you let him live, he opens the opposite display and you can get a tonic or plasma or something.
Yeah. Yep.
Gene tonic.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I always have to kill him, I guess. I thought you had to. Plus, I wanted to, so.
No.
He deserved it. He's crazy.
He is a crazy person, yeah.
And then after you beat him, then you're finally able to go to the sphere, which leads you to Ryan, which is the whole part where you're trying to shut down his little, like, lock to get to where he's at in his office.
Yeah, you're in Hephaestus, which is like the main inner workings of Rapture. So that's definitely stuff you want to screw around with.
It's a good part, though. Like, this is a really good, like, narrative part. Also, when we're talking about the Big Daddies, I wanted to mention that every time I'd see a Big Daddy, I would kill it because I was looking for the little sister because I was trying to get them all. And it wasn't until Mike told me, he's like, when you see a Big Daddy wandering around, you're looking for a little sister, they'll go to different holes and then they'll go and they'll bang on it and get one. So I did that, thanks to Mike. I wait and found one. I just need one more sister. And I followed him, and all of a sudden he started banging. I waited till she climbed out, and I just murdered him after that. And took it.
Nice.
Actually, I didn't get all the little sisters because I had 2 of this area of the 3 that were supposed to be there, and I followed this Big Daddy around and just wouldn't spawn another little sister for me, so I had to just move on.
Yeah, sometimes they don't. Sometimes there's just Big Daddies hanging out with no sisters around. Which again, you can if you want to take them on, feel free. You don't have to though. They will completely ignore you. You could be fighting a bunch of splicers and they don't even care. They only unless you hit them inadvertently, and then of course they'll turn on you.
That's where that electric flesh plasma will bite you in the ass because it sends out a shockwave when you get damaged. So watch out for that.
Yep, you don't want to get that guy mad at you. Which again is why that Big Daddy plasmid is really great, because then you get this monstrous, that guy he goes ahead of you and murders everyone in sight. It's great.
Yeah, I would see them fight. Sometimes they would be fighting splicers, and I would just let them fight them, and I would just watch.
Neither one of them do any kind of damage against each other, unfortunately.
Oh, they don't hurt each other?
They do, but it's just like negligible damage. He'll eventually kill a splicer, but they won't do enough damage to make it easy for you or anything. I
didn't usually wait too long because I get impatient to start shooting myself. I'm like, I don't got time for this. I want to shoot too. But the whole Hephaestus.
I think we had the same problem during the Percy Jackson episode.
That was a long time ago.
Uh-huh.
Almost a year. And that was a good part. Like, I enjoyed this whole part where you're trying to put this bomb together and you have to go find different parts and you have to kill Big Daddies to get a part from them to make this bomb. And then you pretty much are destroying Rapture because you're trying to, like, short circuit the generator or something of the entire city, I felt like. Something like that.
You're putting together an EMP, which is going to, like you said, short circuit a generator that makes a lot of the objectives in this get mushed together, kind of muddled for me at least, because the fun of it is, of course, the exploration and the exploration is the fun part of it, and the personal stories are the fun part of it. The objectives for me were always secondary, so I always forget what I was supposed to do. Again, I'm just following an arrow. I'm following an icon on the map screen. Would you kindly, player, with the controller in your hand, do this thing we tell you to do and don't really worry about what it is, which again is a theme, which is good.
And then when you finally get to Ryan, this scene is, I vaguely remembered this scene before when I was playing this. Like, I knew that he died. I knew how he died, but I forgot the details of Would You Kindly. I just know you got to him and you killed him with a golf club.
Uh-huh.
This is, I think, when the story all comes around, when Ryan explains who you are and why you're here.
Yeah.
Because you were like, what, a child that was born in Rapture, but then brought into the real world, or the above, and to be raised as a like trump card kind of thing.
So Ryan and this dancer gets a payoff from Tenenbaum to be basically inseminated with Ryan's DNA to birth this child, and then they put all these like mental crap in your head, and she and Fontaine ship you out until they need you, which is where the game starts.
Yeah, so you're basically a walking sleeper cell almost for Fontaine. Exactly right. Yeah, they have I didn't realize it was injected DNA. I thought this was just literally the child of Ryan and his mistress. I didn't realize there was DNA involved, but that's fine. They also accelerate your growth, so you haven't been alive very long, and they implant you with memories of a life that wasn't there. So you basically kind of wake up and you think you have a life, and you think you have agency, and you do not. And again, the big theme of this is also you as the player. Do you really have agency when you play video games? Or do you just follow the arrow and say, yes, game, I will do what you tell me? Can you actually explore and do your own thing? And the answer, of course, is no, because games have parameters and they have to block you in somehow, for the most part, right? And that's kind of what the second theme of this is, that player agency is not a real thing. It's just manufactured, which I think is actually really interesting and good. And I like when games explore that meta side of playing video games, namely the wonderful and amazing Spec Ops: The Line. I'm sure I've mentioned that on the show numerous times. It does that beautifully and brilliantly. So basically, you're just a walking bomb for Fontaine to activate with the good old-fashioned would you kindly. Kind of flashes back to all the times you've been would you kindly'd, including you on the plane with that with the briefcase. There's a sign, would you kindly, with a gun. And so you're the one who caused the crash that got you to, and that's why, again, you went into Bathysphere and you didn't just sit there and wait for a rescue, and you just did all the things you did. You, as the player, had no control or agency over anything. It was all a ploy. What did you guys think of Andrew Ryan's decision to just let you kill him?
I guess he's kind of trusting that you're stronger than the coding in your head, which doesn't really pay off for him.
He wants you. I take it as he wants you to be stronger than your coding, and he'd rather go out on his own terms than go out, a slave to Fontaine or a subservient. So I think it's really both things. He's desperate for you to just break that programming because you're his son. Like, you're his own genetic makeup to a certain extent. But also, you know what? Come on, slave. Prove me right. Prove my theories right. Because you're a man. What is it? A man does something, a slave obeys.
A man chooses, a slave obeys.
That's it. A man chooses, a slave obeys. It's almost like I love my morality so much. I'm a moral character based on my moral compass. I'd rather die defending that than live in a world where Frank Fontaine is going to take over with his group of because Frank Fontaine has kind of gone to the underground, to the people who are disenfranchised, to those who are not the because again, who I think it's mentioned in an audio log. Someone's got to clean the toilets. I mean, it's not just these masters of society. There's people here who maintain the pipes. He goes to them, who are probably living in squalor, and raises up this revolution.
Yeah, he's got the whole Fontaine's House for the Poor or something.
That's right. Yes. Which is so antithesis to Randian philosophy and Andrew Ryan's. What do you mean a house for the poor? They should just work. And if they aren't smart enough, then they should just work until they die. Which is what Ayn Rand would say, which is why she sucks. So, yeah, it's so good. And it's such an effective, fun little fact. I was playing Fallout New Vegas recently. There is an achievement where if you take out Mr. House with a very specific golf club, it gives you the would you kindly achievement. Oh, it's great.
See, I remembered that you killed Ryan, but I had forgotten everything. I'd forgotten that he let you pretty much kill him and that you're all being controlled. I forgot all that.
And by the time you get there too, you've kind of broken him. He's so sure that the city's about to open and all this stuff, and you overcoming all these defenses has kind of proved that it's not in the state he seems to think it is, so he's kind of lost already.
And he also launches, a self-destruct mechanism. Like, he's ready to just sink Rapture to the ground in order to stop you, because if it's not going to be a model of his philosophies, then what's the point of it? What's the purpose?
Yeah. You deserve to die if he can't have what he wants.
Yeah.
Essentially, everyone deserves to die if he doesn't get what he wants. I think is how I took it.
Basically, yeah. There's not many people left.
And it was just during this recording that it clicked that the dead dancer that you find is your mother, sort of.
Yeah,
I did not put two and two together until just now during this recording.
Yeah.
As you're walking around Rapture, especially towards the beginning, you keep seeing a flash of this picture with Jack surrounded by what you assume are his parents. And when you walk into the that back room at the club, it shows that picture and it kind of like zooms in on the woman's face, which would be his mother. So he's kind of like subconsciously connecting the dots, I guess, even if he doesn't realize it.
Right.
Okay. That's the first time I put that together, too.
So you put a golf club through Andrew Ryan's head. This is one of the most celebrated scenes in any video game. I mean, if you look up Watch Mojo top 10 scenes in games, it's probably there. I mean, I can't imagine it not being there.
For sure there.
I'm sure. You leave. Now, of course, Fontaine, shows his hand. Atlas was Fontaine. Evidently, I just looked it up. It is they are different actors. So there you go.
Yeah, that makes sense because it does not completely. I mean, everything is so different.
Hey there, boyo, as Michael very nicely said before. He sends a bunch of security drones to finish you off because you're done. But Tenenbaum saves the day. A little sister comes and shows you a secret little, I think that's right, a secret little passageway where you end up in the nursery of all the little sisters. How does this articulate if you've been murdering them the entire time there, Michael?
It's basically just the little sisters have different lines where the little girl asks, who's he? And if you're good, it's like, he's nice. He's going to help us. And then if you're harvesting them, it's like, he's mean. Stay away from him. So it's like infamous level of karma where it's like, okay, it's just kind of there.
Yeah, and that's one of the big knocks I have against Bioshock is how it treats its karma. It's very one-noted. It has very little agency in the story. It also is weird because it rewards you, like you said, Michael, rewards you more for doing the right thing. It really ought to reward you more for doing the wrong thing because that's the moral question, right? Do I get more Adam from this little girl by doing the wrong thing? Helps me get more plasmids, or do I get less? And again, like you said, every 3 you harvest, you get a prize and more Adam. So it doesn't make any difference. Of course, you're going to harvest them. And I think Levine, who of course is the auteur, Ken Levine, the auteur behind the Bioshock series, he was quoted in an interview saying he couldn't make it so you get more stuff from harvesting. He just couldn't handle that. Like he's like, I couldn't do that, which is fine, but it really does. Your morality undercut the morality of the game, so it undercut the story. So, but anyway, that's fine. Yeah. So you end up in the nursery, and now you have a new mission to get Mr. Fontaine.
Well, first and foremost, you got to break the control he's got over you.
Correct. Yeah, and I think Tenenbaum just does that. Yeah.
Well, she does some of it, but then she breaks the "Would you kindly" because he's like, "Would you kindly go get stepped on by a big daddy?" And then he initiates Code Yellow, which basically tells his heart to stop slowly.
It's supposed to tell it to stop completely, but since Tenenbaum removed a lot of the mental stuff, and that's a really fun mechanic. And now this is where people don't like this game, and I'm with you, Mike. I really enjoyed most of this. Some of the stuff I don't like, and I don't think it's as successful as the first 2/3. But
we're getting to my favorite part.
Oh yeah, all right, interesting.
Lot 182. Because like I said, the first thing you have to do is go break the controls. So Tenenbaum tells you about basically an antidote to the brainwashing.
Right.
So you go to Suchong's place, which we didn't talk about. He's just one of the main scientists behind Rapture. And you take the first dose of Lot 182, and the side effect is it randomizes your plasmids until you take the other half. I love this because it makes you mix up your combat unless you're just using weapons.
Yes, it does. I love it too. I thought it was
so
great.
Much fun.
I like when games force you to use the toolbox. You use everything, do different things. It's kind of like, I think one of the Metal Gears, it strips you down to nothing, which forces you to be stealthy. And in Mankind Divided,
strips you down? You mean literally strips you down?
Well, I think every Metal Gear does that at some point.
I guess so.
Yeah, but not completely naked where you grab your balls and do cartwheels.
Yeah, that's two.
That's only one.
In whatchamacallit, the either Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, or Human Revolution, I forget which one. They do a similar thing. Like you get captured, but you have none of your stuff, so you have to like stealth around and be really careful with ammo. Because at that point, you've probably got more ammo than you'll ever need in the history of ever. I love when games do that, and this is actually really great. I love this. You're right.
Yeah. It was every time it switches your plasmid, it completely refills your Eve, so there's really no downside to just going full bore.
Yeah,
it does that?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay.
And I like, all of a sudden I have bees, and I'm like, I have bees. That's right.
Yeah, insect swarm.
In someone's face. Cool. That's awesome. I forgot how fun this is.
It's better in 2 when you upgrade it, because when the bees kill somebody, it basically turns their corpse into a nest or a hive. So when something else gets near it, it shoots out more. It's like this never-ending cycle.
It's
awesome.
Excellent. Just throw them just do that in a corridor, like in a hallway, or like in a doorway, and just watch the fun ensue. No, it's great.
It's
Yep. So you have to go and remove the rest of this because it is also a cool mechanic watching your heart, your life bar decrease slowly but surely. That really adds an immediacy to it. That's really fun. And finally, you're using the 9+ health packs that you currently have. So
you're not wrong. I was maxed out all the time.
Oh yeah, especially on easy. On easy, you probably maxed out, before even meeting a Big Daddy. So.
Yeah, but there would be times where I'd run out though.
Really interesting. Okay,
we're not run. Sorry, I shouldn't say run out. There were times when I get like 5, and I get I'm getting nervous.
You're running here on half. Yeah, no, I get that totally.
Because I was always killing things.
So who makes the serum? I guess that's Tenenbaum who makes it.
I would assume. Well, Sujong just kind of had it laying around, I guess.
Oh, that's right. Yes, you're right. He was because you go to Sujong's place. So you get that, you recover your health, you stop with the randomization, and then is this when they tell you to become a Big Daddy? Not yet.
Yeah, because you go into the next. I think so. You go into the next place, and Fontaine's kind of like done with you, so he's splicing up for the first time. He's ready to throw hands, but then he just kind of runs away like a bit.
Yeah,
that's right.
So Tenenbaum tells you the only way to open the door is to get a big dad or a little sister to crawl through and open it from the other side.
And the only way to do that is to become a Big Daddy. There is the point too where before this you go through Mercury Suites, I think it is, which is the apartment complex where you get to see where everyone lived, which is so fun and cool. That's where Sandra Cohen's apartment is. You can see Tenenbaum's apartment where she had this giant library and it's smeared with blood, and there's some really gross, grody stuff like hanging out in these apartments. Yeah, and it's really more combat. The issue with this though is that it's not Rapture anymore. Like you're not in the beautiful tubes and you're not looking out the window as I did. I would just sit there and look out the window like, oh my gosh, this is so gorgeous. You're just kind of in an apartment complex now. But there's so much fun environmental storytelling that it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because you're going up to Fontaine's penthouse, which is where the other half of Lot 192 is.
That's right. Yes. Mike, how'd you feel about kind of this section's coming up? This whole section here.
I enjoyed the whole apartment hopping thing where you're looking for the ingredients to make the medicine to stop. I thought it was cool. I thought it was a nice change.
That was great. I
didn't have a problem not being, looking out and seeing the water. I was content where I was at.
I had a good moment here because after you get it, you come out and there's a splicer there like rigging up a turret. And since I had the silent footfalls, I just walked up and like tapped it and hacked it and it immediately shot him with a rocket.
It's so good. Turning tables on the splicers with their own stuff is just, I don't know. It's so wonderful. It's so fun.
I always like when I can control enemies. Like Control actually has a really good mechanic where you can basically bring them to your side temporarily. I guess this one has it too with Enrage, but it just makes it fight whoever's closest to him.
Yeah, one of the first powers you get in Bioshock Infinite is the Possess one, where if you possess an enemy, they'll fight for you. But of course, because Bioshock Infinite has to go too far with everything, at the end, once the power wears off, the enemy commits suicide.
That's when you upgrade it. Otherwise, they just go right back to attacking you.
No, I think that just happens by default because that's one of the big, again, because Bioshock Infinite has to go too far with everything that doesn't matter.
You make it sound like Thor Ragnarok or something.
It is not as bad as Thor Ragnarok. A 16-ton weight doesn't fall on their heads after they die. That would be Thor Ragnarok. That's what they would do. No, because they'll shoot themselves in the head or they'll smash themselves in the face with their baton until they just crumble. And it's like, okay, well, that's neat. I guess, but why? Okay. Why did you build your... Nothing in Bioshock Infinite matters in the world that it lives in. Nothing makes sense. Nothing. It doesn't... Why would you build something that you can just dispense and spend $20 on, that anyone can do, that you would use to kill someone, force someone to commit suicide after they've been possessed? Like, why would you have that? In this game, it makes sense because they're doing this as part of this culture that's falling apart. And of course, in the world Bioshock, you have to pay for your health kits and pay for all this stuff because it's hyper capitalism. You got to pay for your health care. Damn it. I don't care if you're dying. So anyway, no, I'm not. I can't go on this tear.
Remember how you weren't going to go on about Infinite?
I know. I cannot go on this tear. I can't do it. All right. Anyway, back to the point where we have to turn into a Big Daddy. I don't love this. I don't love this.
I like this. You have to get the helmet. You got to get the boots. You got to get the pheromone. Like, I actually really enjoyed this part.
The helmet's the worst part because it gives you tunnel vision. It sucks.
Yeah, that was a little annoying.
It's very annoying. You created this gorgeous world of Rapture, and now you're going to limit what I see of it, and you're going to limit what I see of enemies, and it's not additive, right? Plus the mental image of that thing going in, because I think it like screws into your eyeballs or something.
No, you're thinking of the voice modulation.
Oh, that's right. The voice
like crams down your throat, and it's like this mixer. Ugh.
Oh, not great. So you turn into a big daddy which is the only way, the little sisters. This is also the point where you have that little escort mission where you have to keep her alive. Not fun. Again, this whole part here is not great. And this is kind of where the game starts falling on its face a bit because, again, you're escorting. It's not terribly challenging, but it is rather annoying.
Yeah,
I had to go through this a couple times.
It's like padding, and then all of a sudden they're like, well, we don't know how to wrap this up, so they give you the crappy boss fight at the end.
Yeah.
The boss I like the boots that you get because it just makes every step pull.
That's true.
Bring it back to Dead Rising. It's like having the Mega Man birds. I love big clunky footsteps.
But it's also dumb because you don't get to use your drill. Like,
true.
You get the drill?
No.
I mean, no, but you're Big Daddy. You have one.
The Rosies don't have drills. They have the rivet guns.
That's a good point. Good point.
Yeah, you don't get a rivet gun, no.
There's no benefit. It's not an additive thing. You still take damage the same way you did before.
It says it reduces it. It's like 20 or 25%.
That's it?
When you get the bodysuit.
Okay. All right.
It's still cool that it's there. Like, I mean, it's just a little bit of padding to make the game just a little bit longer. They know what to do.
But it's weird, too, because the little sisters, they know who you are. They're going to listen to their Tenenbaum. Like, I don't understand why they went through this whole got turned into a Big Daddy.
Not the way Mike played this game. They're probably like, why are we helping this asshole?
Our morality doesn't matter. So, I mean, it's fine.
Tenenbaum's just worried about getting Fontaine because she says the little sisters are better off with you than they are under his thumb.
Right.
Yeah, but in mine, I was a hero.
Yeah, well.
So was I. I was a hero. They loved me. I was beloved by the little sisters and Tenenbaum.
I didn't mind the escort part. I thought the escort part was fine when you escort a little sister and they're harvesting the bodies. Like, I had no problem with that.
That bodes well for 2 because you have to do that with every little sister.
That's fine.
But that's different because you get a chance to set up the defenses, which is so fun and good.
And the combat's better.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's so much better.
Combat's really good in this game, though.
It's fine. It's what I would call serviceable. It's serviceable combat. Gets the job done, but it's not. The fact
that I went back through an entire area just to find a little sister. I mean, that to me, this is a lot for me about this game. How much I enjoyed it because that's not me.
Sure. No, I love this game. So not a huge knock, but definitely as a low point when you turn into a Big Daddy. And again, the environments you're in, they're just kind of like standard hallways and a standard factory or standard laboratory. Although it is kind of neat to see how the Big Daddies are actually created. I don't think there's enough environmental storytelling to really cement how it happens. But it's still pretty cool, at least to see where they get created. So finally, you become a Big Daddy. You're all kitted up with everything you need. You go to the top of the whatever it is, and Frank Fontaine is there and looks really stupid.
Mr. Dr. Manhattan.
Pretty much the orange version, yeah.
Basically.
So this fight, I had vaguely remembered fighting a big orange guy at the end of this game. And I remember hating this fight, and I remember dying, so I must have played on normal, because on easy, it was just a cakewalk. I just shot him, and it didn't take long before he was healing himself, and I got to shove the syringe into him to suck out the atom.
Mm-hmm.
Which did not take long at all.
Repeat lame 4 times, and it's over.
Yeah, it's just very video gamey, and you may be able to paper it over by saying, well, this is, again, just another commentary on games where you have to hit the enemy 4 phases or 3 phases and shoot him 3 times, and yeah, but you're still playing a game, and this is still something that has to feel good in my hands, and this just doesn't. It's
2007, you see, so I'm okay with it. So now this was made in 2002. You had done that about 12 times with this thing, and each time that you would have done a set of 4, they would have changed and had something else happening terrible in the battlefield just to make the game longer.
I mean, he does, he summons the security drones at first, and then splicers come.
But if it was 2002, it would have somehow made it a lot worse.
Yeah, and if you're not hacking those security drones the second they show up, so they go and do your bidding, you're doing something wrong. That's fine. I don't. Well, actually, it's not fine. I don't like this battle at all. I think it's just very uninteresting and generic. The environment's very bland. There's nothing to the environment, I think.
It's 2007.
It's just one room with a bunch of machinery in it.
Yeah. And
you had to finish the game with a boss fight. You couldn't just had something like a story. Like, if this game would have came out later, in like 2013, 2014, they might have gotten away with not having a big boss fight. But in 2007, that would have been impossible to have.
Yeah, because I'll tell you right now, 2 does not finish with a boss fight.
No, it does not, and it's better for it because you don't really need it, and also it doesn't inspire you to use any creativity. Like if you've been spending the whole time shocking and smacking, it's just a big shock and smack fest. Like there's no, it doesn't encourage you to do other things. You know, maybe if they actually reignited the randomizer, that would be fun. You know, like use the randomizer. You know, a Big Daddy shows up, you throw the little plasmid at him. You don't have the opportunity to switch things, I don't think. Or there might be a gene bank. I don't remember.
There's one right outside before.
Yeah, you're right. There is a gene bank, so you can go in and customize a bit. Hang on, everybody. Hang on. Stop shooting me. I gotta swap out my genes. Hang on. I don't know.
And the other thing that we completely forgot to mention that you can also buy items in this game at little shops called the Circus of Value.
The Circus of Values.
Come back when you get some money, buddy.
And that's another thing kind of like I liked about this game is that when I maxed out my money multiple times in the game where I would just buy random crap just to buy crap to spend the money to get more money.
I got to the point where I was just paying to hack things just because I wanted to get through it quicker.
Because Pipe Dream is really fun. So you just have to. It's just you hack it because exactly. Again halfway through this game but by the time you hit halfway, you have more weapons and ammo than you'll ever need, and you're good. And you're carrying around 6 different types of weapons, like clanging around, clonk, 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 clonk. You know, a lot of this game is very video gamey. You know, but again, you can handle that. Yeah,
you got to give Infinite some credit. It limits you to only having 2 guns at a time, so you don't get like that.
Because that's fun.
Okay. Okay, you want it both ways.
I do. Damn it, I do want it both ways. Well, hang on.
That's a Halo thing. The whole thing with 2 guns. That's all because of Halo.
Well, I don't. I've never played Halo, so I don't know. Which is okay. I don't despise the fact you only get 2 guns. I'll be honest with you. I don't despise that. I think it's fine. I also think it's fine that you keep your upgrades, which doesn't make sense in the world anyway.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I'm glad they do because it would be just laborious if you didn't. Yeah, it's fine. All right. I'm going to step down on that. I'm going to step down on my soapbox on the 2 guns. It's fine. Okay. I just like having things to play with. Just give me the tools, and I'll hand wave the reality of it. If I didn't hand wave things, I'd have to accept Earthbound as acceptable, and it's not. So I say that just
every time you're on this damn show, you got to crap on one or the other.
I just have to trigger Michael. I'm sorry, but I'll step away from my infinite annoyance. It's fine. Okay. It never bugged me in game.
And then this game has 2 different endings. I only saw the one ending because both times I played this game, I've always played this game good because why wouldn't you? And so I rescued all. So we're at the ending right now, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. You fight Fontaine, and he ends up knocking your ass down, and the little sisters come out and save you by swarming him and jamming him with the little syringes.
Oh yeah, no, thank you. I'm glad I forgot all about that.
It's a little disturbing.
Good. Pretty awesome.
Yeah. They're a little disturbing in general, though.
Yeah, they're scary kids. Scary kids are just an ultimate bad. So
I mean, look at how they're the world they're living in, though. So and they're not really kids anymore because they're whatever the hell's been done to them.
Yeah,
it's. Okay, I remember that. Yeah, when they just stabbed the hell out of him. That was a good scene.
Pretty good.
And then they're shouting, kill him, kill him!
Yeah.
Which is something we didn't really talk about. When you're fighting Big Daddies, they are yelling encouragement to the Big Daddies to rip you to pieces and all this crap.
And they can't be harmed, which is weird. You can't harm the little sister. They just kind of stand there and cower, which is kind of weird. Yeah. But it's a game. That's fine. Yeah, no, it's great. I think I've seen the other ending on YouTube. I've never seen it live in person. I think what happens in the real world, the good ending, you basically grow old with the little sisters, right? Mm-hmm. They kind of nurse you back to health, and you become their new Big Daddy because you are forever, I guess, a Big Daddy at this point.
You're not, though.
Is that right? I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
Because Fontaine says he's like, "Hey, you think this thing is reversible? You're stuck like this." And then during this ending, when you're on your deathbed and little sisters come out and take your hand, it's just a normal human hand.
You're right. Good call. Yeah, you're totally right.
So yeah, you don't stay a Big Daddy. I assume they just converted you back or something.
You're probably still sounding like you had a garbage disposal down your throat, though.
Yeah. That's fine. So they convert you to a human, I guess, somehow, some way.
Somehow.
Maybe
Magic.
Tenenbaum helps. Tenenbaum probably dies in all this, so I'm assuming, because you don't see her again. But it's a very quick ending, and then
I mean, she gives
ending.
the narration over the endings. I like the bad ending. It's kind of awesome.
It is kind of awesome. I watched it on YouTube, and it has something to do with like you come to the surface, and
Tenenbaum's like the little sisters offer you the city, but that wasn't enough for you, and it cuts to these fishermen fishing up these bathyspheres, and then splicers kind of fly out and start slaughtering everyone. Like, geez, man,
that's the bad ending.
Yeah,
and the bad ending also, I think you find a submarine, you end up with a nuke or something, and the world is now in your hands. Yeah.
Yep. Well, because you're all spliced up now. No one's going to be able to stop you.
Exactly. And the world is yours. And that's
which one is supposed to be the canon ending without going into spoilers?
I think good.
Kind of yes or no type question. If there is,
I guess neither.
Okay.
Because
when it's not right,
when it ties back around, it's actually before all this. So this is like the end of. Well, yeah, we'll have to get the infinite.
I don't want to.
Yeah, I just looked at the wiki, and evidently the good ending is considered canon.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Because I haven't played Bioshock 2, and I played Infinite, but I never played the DLC, which I want to do an episode on its own, kind of something with that DLC someday.
LC 2 is huge for story.
Okay, so we'll have to do that at some point then.
It is. It fixes a lot of stuff.
Okay, so any last things you want to say before we go to questions, comments, or memories?
No, I say go for it.
Okay, I actually got a lot of comments. I posted only in 3 groups.
You did get a lot of comments, at least from the Overblood, at least.
Mm-hmm. And that's not normal for Overblood lately. Like, Overblood usually just like, they don't care all the time about me, I think. So, but I actually got some, so I'm going to definitely read some. I can't, my Facebook is not being friendly and letting me see all the comments. So I'm going to start with from the Overblood Super Replay group from Tyler McClear. I think Bioshock was one of the last games I bought on a whim and was not disappointed with. Bought it solely in the artwork. I wish I could play through it for the first time again.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I kind of did. Not by choice, but I did.
Yeah, no, that's one of the... I always ask that question, what's a game you'd like to play through for the first time? And Bioshock is definitely high on that list. Mine's Portal, but no.
Yeah, it's similar.
Yeah, it's the same kind of, prestige, for sure.
Remember, when life gives you lemons, you don't make lemonade, you give those lemons right back. Right?
That's right. Mm-hmm. Something along those lines, yeah.
God, I love that game. That was so good. Oh, since you brought that up, it reminded me of that. God,
that was cool.
So good. Right from Alex Furman. All I can say is a legendary, a classic with nothing but fond memories. And second, that is one of those games I wish I could experience for the first time again. Second person that said that so far. And from Andrew Gerds, sorry if I butchered your name, the game that opened me up to the possibilities of the medium. There is before Bioshock and after. I don't get that exactly, but
I think that's fair. I think it's such a landmark of again, interactive storytelling. It's definitely a sea change. We've had interactive storytelling, environmental storytelling with your Deus Ex and System Shock 2, of course. So we've had that, but after Bioshock, a lot of things did change. It definitely enlightened people to what an FPS can do, and also showcased that idea of your lack of control as a video game player. So I agree with that. It was definitely a sea change when Bioshock hit, because it was such a critical darling. Like, again, this won all the awards, I think.
Sea change.
Oh,
and this one from Zach, butcher that. Overblood's best FPS poll winner. I bought Bioshock at a Blockbuster when it was closing down around 2009 or 2010. At the time, I didn't know what it was about or how beloved it was when it came out. Since then, I have beat it around 7 times. I might be in the minority, but I only use powers to open doors or melt ice and stuff because I love shooting guns in it a lot.
Sounds like you.
It did sound like me.
Basically.
This one from friend of the show, Emmanuel. Around the time of its release, I tried out the demo and didn't get far. In fact, it was soon at the atmosphere lowers the Rapture and enemy jump scares you. As the scaredy cat I am, I immediately turned the PS3 off and didn't go back to the game until many years later when I bought Bioshock Infinite and had the original Bioshock for free.
Good man.
That sounds about right.
Kind of what I did. It's kind of what I did.
And from Lucas Adams, this game blew my mind. Knew nothing about it, just thought the cover looked cool. Discovering that you could shoot killer hornets out of your hands is an unforgettable moment.
Yes.
I don't remember that moment at all.
I wished I used that ability more. I really do. But it is just, it's super fun.
It'll put all splicers near you, like, in their tracks. So they stop to swat at them, so it sets them all up as nice targets.
Yeah, and Infinite has the crows, which is basically the exact same thing. It's actually fun. It's good. I'll say something nice about that game. It's a fun mechanic.
And it's called Murder of Crows, which is a great name.
Pretty great.
From Henry Chan, also a friend of the show. I played it when I was like 10 and had a fucking heart attack with a jump scare where the splicer sends a coffin flying at you. I was terrified for the whole game. Traumatized me. As an adult, doesn't scare me anymore, despite the fact that I'm still a massive coward.
That is a great moment where you're just walking around and all of a sudden a coffin comes flying. That is a good moment.
And from Stephen Barfoot, or Stephen Barfoot, how you pronounce his name, I had just come back home from a year away in Canada and had no idea it existed. My buddy Jeff was ranting and raving about it when I got back and basically forced me to borrow it. I replay it every year. It's one of my favorite games of all time. The whole idea of rewriting your genetic code to fit in with high society seemed like such a novel idea for my 16-year-old brain.
It's a good idea for 40
for that one.
It's a good idea for a 40-year-old game. I mean, the idea of him actually doing so. Yeah, see, all that stuff when you're 16 seems super neato, but once you hit your mid-20s, you should have grown out of that. So glad to see you have, Mr. Barfoot, because that's not a great thing.
All right, from Kenneth Osterloh. I remember thinking this game is the future of gaming and a true next-gen game and experience for the 360 era. I never found it scary, but there are certainly jump scary parts to it. I thought the audio journals was genius, and that Rapture was the first sci-fi video game setting that felt realistic and lived in.
Can you imagine this game without audio journals? Like, seriously, can you imagine what this game would be like without that innovation? Not good.
I mean, that's where you get most of the story from from that.
Right? Imagine if you had like these terrible cartoon characters expositing all this stuff instead of just experiencing it while doing other things. Yeah, no, it'd be horrendous. So that's a great point on the audio journals.
And as far as horror goes, I think it leans on the more the action side, like Dead Space, where you always feel kind of overpowered. So it has to rely on those jump scares to really get anything out of you.
Yeah, because it's not a horror game like the few we played on the show since Mike joined.
Yeah,
because it was a horror game, me and Mike would not be thinking highly of it. And from Danny Palacio, I lost my shit when the doctor jump scares you.
That's the one Bill is talking about.
Yep. Not great.
From Steven Chevalier, I never played Bioshock, any of them. You should. I used to say no, but you really should, sir, if you listen.
No, you should. It's play them. Hopefully you're not listening to this show with all the spoilers and then playing it.
And from Nabil Larbi, welcome to the circus of values.
So I love the little laugh it does too.
And the little jingle it plays.
And last one from this group, I have two other groups, but from Randolph Sparks, blew me away when I first played it. GI did a cover story for it that got me super hyped, but man, it shattered my expectations. I still vividly remember the first time I experienced that twist in the dark basement at like 3 a.m. Never going to forget that.
No. Yeah, you can't.
You can. I did. I completely forgot everything.
Fair point.
All right, and then I'm going to read some from the Giant Bomb group. Actually, I didn't get as many. I only got 3, but I'll read those. From KJ, because I can't pronounce that name at all. The big "would you kindly reveal" had such a huge impact on me. It made me realize that there are certain stories that only lend itself to video games and no other medium. It just felt natural to have a disembodied voice telling you what to do because that's how games always operate. But to have it justified and make sense within the context of the game was mind-blowing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, it's just one of the great themes of this game, and it does that beautifully.
And from Taylor Bowens, I brought my 360 on a family vacation and rented it from a local rental store so I could play it as soon as possible. I was freaked out by it and didn't beat it until I bought it used a year or two later.
Everyone was terrified of this game. I don't feel alone anymore. I feel like my story is one of many people who just said,
it definitely is. Yeah. And from JJ Franco, I absolutely love this game on so many levels. The criticism of Randian politics taken to their extreme, but perhaps inevitable conclusion, the questions of autonomy and morality, the literal exploitation of children for capitalist and selfish gain, and the metaphorical questions the Little Sisters represent. Can there be innocence in a world with these morals? And if so, how do you protect it by any means necessary? That's all in quotations, that last part. And I can go on and on. Now as a dad, I watch my little girl explore a world that is beautiful and also dangerous. I feel like a big daddy sometimes, wanting her to play and grow, but leery of things that come close. Here's a commission, and he has a commission that he had done of his daughter, I guess, and a big daddy.
That's awesome. I want to see the commission, but man, no, well said. I mean, he nailed every single point, especially not theologically, but from just an awesome. You just sent over that image. I can't talk and click at the same time. That is amazing. What an awesome image. We just got the picture of the commission that he had done with the big daddy and his little daughter. You nailed it, man. You nailed every point. I cannot expand upon that, even though I want to. So I'll say, good job. High five. Nicely said.
And from the last group, the official Laser Time community, from Sonia B. I bought a 360 just for this game. It was the game that got me out of my Nintendo loyalty. It has absolutely everything I love, 40s era aesthetic, unique story, and your hand that shoots bees.
Everyone loves the bees.
That's pretty great.
From
pretty awesome.
Matt Anderson, I built my first gaming PC specifically for this game and spent almost doubled just so I could get this to run perfectly.
Yeah. Oh, if it was recently, yeah, totally. I can see that. This actually, I didn't mention that. I started playing this game again because I rebuilt my PC in December, right around Christmas, and I bought last gen parts and stuff because current gen parts for your PC are impossible to obtain unless you have a couple grand on you. So anyway, I rebuilt the computer, and just to test it out, I started playing the Bioshock remaster. And I was gonna play this for like an hour just to see how it runs. Gawk at my FPS. Just get all dorky with it. Boom! A couple weeks later, done. I just kept playing it because, damn, it's so good. So I had the exact same experience. Very good.
And from Sean Casadita, I don't like shooters, but I really enjoyed it. I didn't play till a few years ago on Steam. Just loved the story. It had a really good, creepy vibe, especially when you run into the big daddies for the first time. The little girls just cackling when they are trying to kill you. I picked the good route since I never killed any of the girls. It's also one of the few games that compelled me to finish the whole game. I bought part 2 immediately after finishing 1.
Yep. I hope you enjoyed part 2 because it's. I think it plays better. It's not as capital I important, but it's, I think, more fun in your hands.
All right. From Cody Smith, I own this game many times over and have read the prequel book, and it really shed a lot of light onto aspects of the game I hadn't thought of it before. It was such a wonderful mix of storytelling and action. It didn't meet the creator's lofty goals in many ways, but it was a very great game.
Not as bad as Fable in that regard.
Well, yeah. And actually, this game, we didn't even touch about the development because that's kind of outside what we do, really. But this development of this game was marked with lots of strife and struggle and remakes and rewrites, and it's almost a wonder this game got off the ground. Kind of like Infinite had a similar. There's a great video out there for Infinite from I think it's Kroby Cat, who kind of compares the demos of Bioshock Infinite to what we actually got. And if we had gotten what was in the demos, I'd have a much higher opinion of that game because it looks awesome. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I'm only going to read, I think, 2 more.
Go for it.
This one, I want to read it, but I don't want to go into it. From Josh Shoup. Had absolutely no interest in Bioshock when it first came out, but after getting heckled by my older brother enough times, I bought that and Bioshock 2. To this day, I don't think I gasped louder than that in quotations. Big reveal upon finishing Bioshock Infinite and the Barely at Sea DLC. I'm still convinced that this game has one of the best stories I played to date, which means nothing to me, but I'm okay with that. For now that I replayed Bioshock 1, I'm so excited to eventually play Bioshock 2 and Bioshock Infinite again and play that DLC.
Yeah. They're always on sale, so definitely pick it up. I think I picked up the. Okay, yeah.
Make myself play them, which again, there's a reason this podcast exists.
Yeah, I think I picked up the whole series for like $10 or something. I have something ridiculously.
Me too. Cheap. I have it on Steam and Xbox One, which I can't play.
Word.
I don't have Xbox One anymore. Well, I do, but it's a big box that doesn't turn on. From last question we're reading, Mark Kalzer. There are a few moments in pop culture as singular as that particular moment in Bioshock. It was different from your usual big movie twist. You could probably never accomplish a twist like that again. The fact that you were the player were willing to participate in the twist, obeying without question. When I first hit the twist, I was just a bit taken back by losing physical control of my player. I almost wanted to give me the choice to obey directives, but of course, the point is you had no choice all along. The moment you choose to obey at the very beginning, you were a slave. You never had control. No piece of pop culture art, I think, will ever again capture that feeling of being programmed. It's pretty good.
That's a great point. I forgot. That's actually an excellent point because when you're at that point with Andrew Ryan, you don't get like the hit X to smack or something. You don't, right? You just do it and you have no control over it. That is an excellent point. Yeah.
All right, and then I think that's all the questions. That brings us to Shelf Stacker Box.
Yay.
And Mike, why don't you go first since this is your pick?
Oh, it's gonna go on the shelf. Any of these exploratory games that basically let you build your character however you want and do things in your own way. Grade A in my book. Like, I love at least the first 2 Deus Ex games. I haven't made myself play the other 2 yet. And the rest of this series and Prey, they're all fantastic. So I'll play it again. I immediately played it again as soon as I beat it. I went through and played New Game Plus. And I saved all the little sisters. I only used few of the plasmas. I did Cyclone Trap, Sonic Boom, and Freeze Blast just to kind of mix it up because they're not ones I really use. So it's fun, and it's just plenty of other ways I'm sure I can play it that I've never done before.
Maybe you just played it twice because you really didn't want to play the game for the next week.
Yeah, that's
Bill, what about you?
Well, this is an easy shelf. I mean, I think we've kind of mined everything that's amazing about this game. I just appreciate the themes and the story and what it achieves as far as melding the gameplay and the story. Again, it plays fine, and other titles in the series play slightly better. Well, one does better. And it's it's just a triumph. I mean, it's capital I important for a reason. And I think it's a required game to play if you're a fan of the medium. So yeah, shelf, easy.
Okay, and I'll go last. When we first put this game on the show and I was going to play it, I'm like, man, it's going to be garbage. I'm not going to enjoy this. I actually did not want to, like, normally I always play games about 2 weeks ahead of time. I start playing them so I can beat them a week ahead of time. And I did not want to play this. I'm like, I had opportunity. I'm like, no, I don't want to start Bioshock. That game sucks. I don't like it. I don't want to play it. So I purposely put it off. And then one morning I'm like, okay, it's Thursday. I want to beat this by Sunday. I should start the game. So no, Friday morning. So Friday morning I start playing and I'm like, I have an hour before I go to work and I start playing. I'm like, I don't want to stop playing. I'm like, what's happening here? And I couldn't, and I just kept playing. Like I went to work, but I came home. I kept playing. Saturday in the morning, I kept playing, and I beat this game in 3 days. I think it was 3 days, and it made me realize how much fun I was having with this game, and how my memory of it was so clouded and so wrong, and it almost felt like going to the game for the first time because I had no memory of really playing it before, other than Andrew Ryan got killed with a golf club and you used plasma. That was really my only really memory, and a big orange guy in the end. So it's going on the shelf. I'm really glad Mike picked this, and I'm really glad I got to replay it and actually have a good memory of it now. I still think Infinite was better from what my memory was, but we'll see.
Infinite's got better characters at the very least.
I really like Elizabeth.
Yep.
I'm going to do a guttural sound. I think they're different. Yeah,
No,
not to get into it. I think they're different. I don't know if they're better, but they're different. Elizabeth's great because she stays out of your way, and she's helpful she's helpful at least. She's at least helpful, and she stays out of your way, which is the best you can ask for an escort. So, yeah.
So I should since it's next week is actually my pick. I should introduce what we're talking about next week. So we're going to wrap up the second series on this podcast. We are finally digging into the third birthday. The third Parasite Eve game, sort of. Not really, but sort of, sure.
Kind of.
And probably the last Parasite Eve game we'll ever see.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't think Square knows it exists anymore.
So that's what we're covering next week. So stay tuned for that. Because, yeah, this should be interesting. A lot of upsetness, I'm sure. So, and since you're Bill, why don't you give a shout out to your podcast that is live?
Yes, it exists. Yay. I was listening back to like an older MCU episode. I was just, doing dishes and I had nothing else to listen to. Not to say it's a bad thing, just it's there. And I remember saying how, hey, one day there may be a show to listen to. And if you go there, great. If you don't go there, then if you go there and there's nothing, then it died. It didn't die. It's a thing. So the show's called The Gamer Looks at 40. It's a retrospective of the history of games as told through the stories and recollections of everyday people who lived it. We're going through everything from early 8-bit to modern day, essentially. And these are just stories from everyday people and how these games affected them in amazing, positive ways. I have stories of people who have been married thanks to video games. I have stories of kids who were ostracized on the playground due to their choice of system. It's stuff like that. So if you have a story like that and wanted to tell it on a podcast, go to A Gamer Looks at 40. The number 40 on Twitter and send me a DM. Say, hey, I got a story for you. And I'll be like, well, I got a time slot for you. So come on over and tell those stories and check out those stories at A Gamer Looks at 40.
Okay. And if you enjoyed this episode, we have tons of other episodes. We have covered over 125 games at this point. So definitely go check all those out. We do movies, we do comics. We're currently going through the same crew, the MCU, and we're almost done. So you can go check those out. I forget what the next one is coming out, but there's one coming out soon. So definitely go look at those and listen to those, please. And want to give a shout out to our awesome intro and outro, courtesy of Bobby, a.k.a. Mike Tony from ZP Bite the Bullet. Songs are cool, kids. Why? You will see a link in the show notes to his YouTube channel. You also see a link in the show notes to A Gamer Looks at 40 podcast. So definitely go check those out. And please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. We are on YouTube. And if you want to throw us a couple dollars, you can go find us on Patreon, where we are going to have, which I was going to start the show with but forgot to. We're going to have a poll that is currently going on to choose what we're going to play for our first pilot test episode. Or not play, but watch. So that will be in the Patreon. So if you, only for $1, you can sign up and do that.
And one of the stretch goals, I think, for your Patreon is going to be if you contribute $50, I'll read Atlas Shrugged again. And and I listen, how much I appreciate this show. I'll read it again and give a very small book report. Okay, so if you want to hear me do that on a show, $50, I think might do that for sure.
But then I'd have to read it too, and I don't think I want.
Oh no! I won't put you guys through that because again, friends don't let friends read Atlas Shrugged, and I've already read it once in my life, and I know it's just bad. So that's what I'll do for this show. All right, $50, make it happen.
Did you say $50?
The last thing I need are $50. $50 would be appropriate.
So go follow us Patreon. You'll see a show note there. You'll see the link in the show notes. So. All right, I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you guys all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.